All set. Okay, please introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Sarah Tesla, and I'm the founder of Make Creative
And where are we now?
in Vancouver, British Columbia.
And how long have you been around for?
Our business has been here for 4 years, and the space that we're in today, we've been here for 2 years.
Tell us a little bit about this space, because it's quite lovely.
Thank you. It's a heritage building in the Mount Pleasant neighborhood of Vancouver, and its original purpose was a brewery depot where trucks would come in and pick up and distribute beer to the community.
Perfect.
And now today it's surrounded by new condo developments, and they've been able to kind of retain the original facade and some of the original architecture, which is great. And we're in 3,000 square feet of really nice open concept, beautiful space.
Tell me a little bit about how space helps you do the job that you need to do, because we're digital people, but space is obviously a physical thing.
Yeah, no, that's such a good question. I think that, at least scientifically, I've read recently that having high ceilings, that height above you, really does aid in that sense of that kind of limitless feeling. And the ability to, I think, just kind of cultivate and feel like you've got, no end to what your creative bounds are. So I think that helps. I think too, just being in a space where you get air and natural light, like that combination, just does wonders for your brain and your ability to be really focused in a task. We used to be in a very small space, about 700 square feet, shoulder to shoulder, and it was a little stifling. It felt, for sure. There was that kind of camaraderie that built from being next to the person that you're, in the trenches with, so to speak. But I don't know. It didn't really I think, support this idea that we just want to be in a kind of boundless environment. Yeah.
Right. So you're in charge of all of these misfits and people around here.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about that moment when you realize, I'm in charge. I actually have to lead these people into battle every day.
Yeah, the holy shit moment.
Yeah.
Well, when did that happen? I think I've had maybe kind of a few versions of that, to be honest. One was when I first started the business, and my partner at the time, she and I hired our first 2 employees, and suddenly that overhead for a moment felt a bit daunting. That responsibility started to sink in, and we thought, okay, we're really accountable to these people's lives, to help them support the dreams that they want, their professional and their personal dreams. So we better do a good job and not let them down. And I think that feeling was emphasized to a greater proportion when suddenly I found myself with a team of 10 people. And suddenly, being the person that looks at the numbers all the time, I really had to have like a kind of a heart-to-heart with myself where I'm like, okay, so this isn't wildly irresponsible, but this is totally the signature curve of a company in growth. And so just take a breath and it's time to hit your next goal and push onward from there. And then, just daily, everybody kind of reminds me of that kind of responsibility that I have. So.
And there are obviously some pretty specific skills that relate to running a business.
Yeah.
How did you fill those gaps?
A lot of experimentation, trial and error. I try to be well-read and current. I'm fortunate. My husband is a founder of a digital creative agency in Vancouver and has been doing it for a decade. He has got 2 partners, and so he's been pretty much, a limitless resource for me, which has been great. And honesty, I really am pretty humble about, what I know and what I don't know. So I rely a lot on my team in that sense to be experts in what they do and allow me to try and figure out what I have to do. So.
What do you think you still need to learn? What's missing?
Oh, there's so many things. Great question. Well, I think leadership is always a work in progress. I think that the more people that you become accountable to and the more you have to sort of, I don't know, push that drive, get people on board. What's the vision? Like, what are they getting behind? And figuring out how to lead that in itself is just a daily challenge. Like, am I being a leader by example, or am I sitting back too much in this one? Like, it's always trying to find that fine balance. And also just the fine balance of people. I think by who I bring into the studio as like a new employee says a lot about who I am as a person. And I think that because the team is just such a, I don't know, like, I feel like everybody here is very carefully curated, and not to make that sound like weird, but I don't know, I'm just protective of that identity, I guess. So I feel like that type of leadership really comes into play as well. So,
do you think of yourself as a planner? Do you plan ahead much?
Yes and no. I plan ahead enough in order to feel confident about my next move and whether or not I would fail in that move. But beyond that, no. I like to have sort of big ideas that would be interesting to reach, but I'm a little bit more of a live-in-the-moment kind of person than I am a meticulous planner.
Interesting. So you are responsible for these people's future. They're obviously thinking about where you're headed. How do you then communicate if you don't have a particular plan in mind? How do you communicate that vision so that everybody else gets on board with it?
Yeah, no, great question. Well, it should be a combination, I think, of two things. One is the vision of the business isn't really something that you plan for. I think that what it is right now works really well, but if anything, you should plan for it to change and evolve. And so you have to be open to that, so not attached to things. And I think everybody believes in that here. I think everyone's sort of on board for, how that could evolve. And I hope, because I really want them to contribute as well. So ultimately, I may kind of set the tone for what the vision might be, but ultimately I'm looking for cues from everyone on the team to kind of give me an indication of what could be the best way forward. So, but beneath that, from a financial perspective, certainly there's a little bit more fiscal responsibility there. You can't kind of be too reckless and being like, oh, well, money could run out and we'll just figure something out when we get there. No, it's not quite like that. I've kind of got more of my shit together in that space, and not that it's always perfect, but it's well enough in a good spot that it doesn't feel ultimately too challenging. So, yeah.
And how do you describe your leadership style?
Easygoing. I am not a micromanager at all. I really give people the space that they need to figure out what they're doing and how they're doing it. And yeah, I sort of feel like everyone on my team is a bit of a counselor to me in that sense. But I keep the 10,000 feet view that I have in perspective for myself by knowing when to step in and provide support. If something's kind of going off the rails a bit, or if I just generally see someone who still needs a little bit of work to try and get to maybe a point of confidence that they're lacking, or a skill that they're still developing. If I have something to offer there, then I'll step in and support however I can. So,
how do you think the people that work for you would describe that leadership style?
Probably, well, at least I know from my creative director, who has mentioned to me before that in previous roles he was micromanaged. He'd come in, he'd sit down, present an idea, and then it would be picked apart, Mm-hmm. And he always kind of felt like he had that backseat driver, kind of over the shoulder type of management. And so he's mentioned to me that it's refreshing to be in an environment where that doesn't happen, where it feels more like, let's have a mutually respectful conversation about the outcome we're trying to reach. And if you have something valuable to offer, great, but you're not going to just shit on my idea before we've had a chance to figure it out.
Mm-hmm. Why do you think that that particular leadership style works for Mick in particular?
Yeah. Well, I guess because if you start a business and you're one person, you kind of build around you things that relate to your own personality, I suppose. So maybe similarly to how you might get into a relationship with someone who, you have compatible but also, important differences. I sort of feel like building an agency has been a bit like that. Mm-hmm. So I think that my style, in a sense, you can see hints of that in everyone who's here. So then there's that relatability. Everyone's pretty chill. We're not a high stress, like freak out style of an environment, which when I've heard from a few folks who've come from bigger agency backgrounds or from more kind of traditional spheres, that they're like, oh, this doesn't happen here, this kind of spastic freak out session that maybe they've been used to in other scenarios. So so all of that, I guess the point I'm trying to make is that if there's like strong aspects of the personality of the founder, then likely that's going to come out in the people that are here, and that's why it works.
Yeah. So that relates to how you curate these people, or find them and collect them.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about how you find great talent and then nurture those people into this lovely culture that you've created.
Yeah, I'm a headhunter. I'm not really into getting scads of resumes and combing through cover letters and trying to determine if someone's value is in how they've designed and what they put in their resume. I typically am looking for